Hello and welcome back to another episode of World Traveler Cooking. In the past I've done an episode on a Swedish dish called Kaffeost. This cheese is cut into pieces and eaten in or with coffee. The same cheese exists in Finland, where it is called Leipäjuusto. Now, the ingredients here are very simple. I just have 10 liters of milk and some rennet. You can make this with as few as 2 liters of milk. Some people substitute about 20% of the milk for cream. You can do that if you'd like. But some other recipes just say, just use a relatively high cream or high fat milk. Traditionally, this is made from colostrum rather than milk, so it's heavier on the proteins and heavier on the fats. But today, most people, if you're making it at home, you can't get cow colostrum, so you're just going to go ahead and use ordinary milk. Now, this is definitely an unusual dish. It's eaten sometimes melted in Finland with berries, but in Sweden, as far as I can tell, it's mostly eaten in coffee. So that is what it is. The process here is interesting. We're going to take raw milk. We're going to heat it to 37 degrees Celsius. I will provide an equivalent in the comments, and you will definitely want to use a thermometer on this. Okay, so we will heat it up. Once we get to about the right temperature, we will add our rennet. We'll let it coagulate, and then comes the interesting part. We bake it. This is a relatively interestingly cooked cheese, and so we're not really going to pasteurize our milk beforehand. We will, however, we will, however, cook the cheese, and I would suggest if you're going to drink the whey, you might want to boil the whey at that point. Unless you really, really trust your source of milk, in which case, do what you want to at your own risk. So, I'm going to enter all the milk into a pot, and I will put it on the stove to heat up. Let's get started. So I actually only have 5 liters of milk. I thought I bought 10, but maybe I just bought 5. I'm going to now start heating it up, and I'm going to use a thermometer to keep checking on it periodically. And we'll just keep an eye on it. So this will be a little while. As a note, in the US, if you don't want to use raw milk, you can use like minimally pasteurized milk, but most milk you get at the store is ultra high temperature pasteurized in the US, and that will mean it will not coagulate properly. So this needs to be treated carefully here. Alright, so this is just feeling barely warm to the touch, which is what it should. When I took the temperature, we were right at between 37 and 38. So of course, have to use the right mode on the thermometer. Actually, this shows right above 38 because of holdover cooking. So we are going to go ahead and add our rennet here. Follow the instructions on your rennet. But if you want to be safe, you can double the dose or something. So this is 5. So I'm going to use like 12 drops, maybe 15, just to be safe. So I think we're about ready here. So I'm just going to show you if I can. Let me zoom in really close. We're looking for something we call a clean break. And so if I take this and I pull it aside, I just see whey. I don't see any milk. And that's what we're looking for here. Sorry again about the background noise. They're still working on the house next door. I have no idea if they're actually tearing it down or rebuilding it or what at this point. But at any rate, this is what we have. So next step, we're going to start straining and pressing this cheese. So I'm going to try putting a little bit of this on the colander without cheesecloth. If I need to add cheesecloth, I will. But I think this might work. And so far it looks promising. So it looks right now, let me just check. Yeah, this looks about right. That actually, hold on, I am going to put this back. I am going to put a cloth on the bottom, and I'm going to explain why. Because I'm actually going to press this, and I think with the cloth it'll work better. So I'll be right back. So you want some sort of a fine mesh. I'm using something from a linen bag that I have, and now I'm just going to start adding this in here. And the goal is to fill it pretty well, and then we're going to press out whey, and then we will add more. But with the pressure, but pressing out the whey means that we can do this. Why is this not draining very well? Well, I'll come back to that. You know, I could strain this with the mesh strainer first, and I'll put it in here. That'll work better. So I have now strained all of this through a sieve. I have one of these bags I got actually from a conference, but it's in, I think, about the right kind of material. So I'm just going to fold this over like this, and then I'm going to find a way of putting a weight on top. So I'm probably just going to use like a big can or something, but I just want a weight on top, ideally something that will just barely fit in here and give it some nice extra pressure. So I've decided to put a saucer underneath this just to spread out the weight a little bit. And I'm going to set this here, and I'll come back in an hour. I might have to adjust it to something slightly smaller, but the goal is basically to press this and remove as much weight, whey by weight as possible. So I'll be back in like another hour, and maybe I'll remove the saucer at that point. So the noise in the background is continuing, but I moved it out of the, I moved the cheese out of the colander and basically just flat onto this baking sheet so that it will flatten out. And then eventually I just removed the upper layer of the cloth bag also. So the next step here is I'm going to remove this from here. I'm going to pour off all of this whey. I'll rinse this and I'll be right back. So into our pan, I'm going to put some baking paper. I'm going to then, this is not coming off as cleanly as I was hoping. I just set the curd here, peel it off as cleanly as I can. It may not be perfectly clean, but I did a pretty good job. And this will go into the oven at 200 Celsius, 400 Fahrenheit, for about 20 minutes until it browns. So I'm going to position this, fold the corners down, because the last thing I want is a fire, and in it goes into the oven. I'll be back once it's starting to brown. Sorry about the continued pounding, but in retrospect, this probably should have been in like a pie pan or something. So this may come out a little bit on the thin side. Next step is we're going to let this cool. And then this is normally eaten really thin. So we will let it cool down, and then we'll try cutting some small pieces off of it. Again, probably next time I would cook this in a couple of small cake pans or a pizza pan, but this will still probably be okay. And now for the taste test. I will come back and do another taste test tomorrow with coffee. This came out really thin because I wasn't really thinking about how it would melt. So the taste test may be a little interesting, and I haven't really fully refrigerated it, but this should still work very nicely for coffee cheese. So I'm just going to cut a little piece off. I'm going to taste it. So I didn't expect this to squeak at all, but it is squeaking a bit, which is a nice bonus. The flavor profile is right on target. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to having this in my coffee. So I'm going to cut this into pieces, basically stack it and put it in the refrigerator. And then I will wash this, and yeah. This is definitely nice. Definitely going to make it again. The only downside to making this is with all cheese, the amount of whey you end up with left over. You can get ricotta cheese out of the whey. Personally, I like to just drink it over the next couple days. Whey is a great source of protein. It's also, though, if anybody's having blood sugar issues, it does affect your blood sugar because lactose is basically glucose plus galactose. So do keep that in mind. But the whey is very nice to drink, and they used to serve it in the early modern period mixed with wine. So just as a note. At any rate, if you find sorry, I'll cut that out. If you find this content interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to find and follow my work elsewhere, I'll have links to that below. If you make a dish like this, you do it a little differently. I'd love to hear your tips and tricks. I think we all do better when we learn from each other in this regard. So please leave me a comment, even if you have, if you have anything else to say about the video. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.